Hand in hand through life, Lucas and I navigated a labyrinth of grievances and unspoken resentments. Even as our hair turned from jet black to silvery white and our children grew up, the bitterness between us never faded. I always felt like an outsider in his heart, while he never forgave me for what he believed was the theft of his true love. I had resigned myself to a lifetime of this Cold War. But fate had other plans. A sudden car accident changed everything, giving us an unexpected second chance. This time, I won't make the same mistake.
Mia, if it weren't for you back then, I would have married her.
How many times had he thrown those words at me? I had long lost count. I had given him my youth, borne his children, and managed the home we built together. Yet, he never truly saw me. I was the one who sacrificed, the one who tried. But love had long since drained away, leaving only exhaustion in its wake. Lucas, if you're so desperate, why don't you go and marry her now? You've spent your whole life longing for Evelyn, but does she even want you? Do you think I wanted to marry you? He snapped. I laughed bitterly. Then why did you?
We've both had enough.
Something in me finally broke. Like a wounded animal, I struck where it hurt the most. Do you have to keep bringing her up just to provoke me? Lucas growled.
You were the one who started it.
I shot back. Either we find a way to live together, or we let each other go.
Fine. Let's get divorced. Whoever backs out is a coward.
We had fought like this for decades, held together by duty, habit, and remnants of an old affection that had long lost its warmth. But in the end, we remained two people who had never truly understood each other. All right, I said, voice steady. Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau.
Don't think I won't do it, Mia.
Neither of us noticed the truck barreling toward us until it was too late. In the blinding chaos of the collision, my world faded to black. Then, a sound. A chime. Ding dong. A bright white light engulfed us, and a voice echoed in the void. I am the life restart system.
I can grant you another chance.
A window appeared before us. If you could do it all over again, would you still choose each other? Yes/no. Lucas and I locked eyes. This time, there was no hesitation. We both pressed no. Restarting your lives. You will return to the moment when your fates were decided. Make your choice wisely. There is no turning back. I thought it was a dream. But when I opened my eyes, I was back in that fateful moment. Our class reunion. The night Lucas, in a fit of wounded pride, had confessed to me just to spite Evelyn.
Say yes. Say yes.
The cheers of our classmates surrounded us. Lucas was kneeling before me, a bouquet of flowers in his hands. In my previous life, I had been blinded by love. I had taken those flowers, believing it to be the happiest moment of my life. But they had been nothing more than a casual purchase, a meaningless gesture. I had cherished them as if they were a symbol of something real. Lucas had never loved me. He had only wanted to prove a point. And I had spent my life paying for that single mistake. This time, I wouldn't be fooled. Lucas' eyes flickered with recognition. He had come back too. Before he could rise, I spoke first. No. Lucas. I don't want to. I don't love you. A shadow passed over his face. Anger, disbelief. But I felt nothing but relief. Let's not repeat this cycle. We're not meant for each other, I said quietly. Go find your happiness.
And I'll find mine.
I picked up my bag and walked away, ignoring the stunned whispers and Lucas' frozen expression. I knew exactly where I needed to go. My dream had always been to paint. I had worked so hard, been accepted into my dream school, created works that had once filled me with pride. But I had let it all slip away, sacrificing my passion for a life that was never truly mine. I would never forget the disappointment in my teacher's eyes when I told her I was giving up art for marriage. She had been my greatest mentor, yet in the years that followed, she refused even to see me. My student may never be famous, but she should never have become a housewife, she had once told me. I would rather see you painting on the streets than throwing away your talent. In my past life, I had thought I wouldn't regret my choices. But standing before a blank canvas, paralyzed by fear, I had realized too late, I had lost myself. Not this time. I rushed back to campus, my heart pounding. There, in the familiar studio, my teacher sat alone, surrounded by unfinished paintings.
Tears burned in my eyes as I ran toward her and threw my arms around her.
Teacher, I'm back.
I'll never let go of my paintbrush again.
Startled, she stiffened before pulling away to study me. What's gotten into you, silly girl? Weren't you at the class reunion? Did someone bully you?
I laughed through my tears. No. I just missed you.
She sighed, shaking her head.
You're too emotional.
Although the teacher didn't quite understand what was wrong, she felt deeply worried upon seeing my tears. She softly patted my back, her touch as gentle as a mother's. Instead of questioning me, she simply encouraged me, as always, to devote myself to painting. In my past life, I was so preoccupied with Lucas that I neglected her guidance. Back then, my inattentiveness while painting would frustrate her. I can never erase the image of her frail hands, gray hair trembling as she let my unfinished painting slip from her grip onto the floor. A painting doesn't have to be perfect, but it must have a soul. Yours has none.
It's empty.
Teacher, this time, I promise to listen. I won't make the same mistake again. Since my rebirth, I haven't seen Lucas. All my energy is now dedicated to my art. Mia, your style has changed a lot, the teacher observed, furrowing her brows as she examined my latest piece. I knew what she meant. I once painted with the innocent dreams of a girl who saw the world through rose-colored lenses, filling the canvas with visions of love and endless possibilities. Now, though I still inhabited a youthful body, my soul had been weathered by time, its sharp edges smoothed down, its colors dulled with regret. My paintings were no longer fluid and carefree. They carried the weight of restraint and lost dreams. Teacher, do you think it's an improvement? Or a loss? She studied both me and the painting for a long moment before shaking her head. It's missing something. Life, perhaps. She sighed softly. I don't know what you've been through, but as long as you're all right, that's what matters most. Her words stirred something deep within me, and my eyes welled up once again. Those who truly love you will support you no matter how you change. They won't ask you to lose yourself for them. It took me an entire lifetime to grasp this truth. But thankfully, I had been given a second chance. And this time, I wouldn't waste it. The next time I saw Lucas, he was escorting Evelyn back to our alma mater. Teacher Amelia, you once said I wouldn't last long in this field, Evelyn said with a triumphant smile.
But look at me now. I've made a name for myself, and I came back to visit you.
Of course, she hadn't come just to see the teacher. She wanted to flaunt her success. She stood tall, dressed elegantly, her arm looped through Lucas's as she cast a glance at me. The teacher, however, remained composed, sipping her tea without sparing Evelyn a second look. I, too, was busy arranging the tea set, uninterested in entertaining her presence. Annoyed by our indifference, Evelyn pulled Lucas down to sit beside her. You must be a junior here. Pour me a cup of tea. I raised an eyebrow at her audacity, but before I could comply, the teacher set down her cup with a soft clink. 5 years ago, I told you that you wouldn't last. She met Evelyn's gaze with unshaken resolve. 5 years later, I still stand by my words. You don't need to visit me. Leave. Evelyn's smile faltered.
Excuse me. There's no tea here for you.
The teacher's voice was calm but firm, her expression void of warmth. Evelyn's face twisted with anger. Who do you think you are? Some legendary master? You're just a countryside teacher. I will go international one day. Losing her previous poise, she stomped away in her heels, fuming. Lucas hesitated but quickly grabbed his bag, hurrying after her. With a sharp slam of the door, they were gone, leaving only the teacher and me in the quiet room. Did you like that young man? I blinked in surprise. You. How did you know? I had never spoken to her about Lucas before. She chuckled softly. I saw you that day, rushing down the stairs the moment he called.
Your eyes shone only for him.
She shook her head. I even thought for a moment that he might steal you away from painting forever. I lowered my gaze. But now you didn't look at him once, she continued.
Yet, he couldn't take his eyes off you.
So the teacher had noticed everything. I let out a small self-deprecating laugh. Mentioning Lucas always left a bittersweet taste in my mouth. I used to like him. I took a deep breath.
Now, I just want to move on.
As if sensing my feelings, the teacher gently stroked my hair. If someone makes you unhappy, let them go. There are plenty of men in the world. But the most important thing is to love yourself first. Love myself first? Yes. That's what I needed to do. I smiled. Don't worry, teacher. Right now, all I care about is painting. I don't have time to waste on men. She laughed. That's not the right mindset either. It's perfectly fine to find someone to have fun with now and then. I stared at her wide-eyed. Teacher, I thought you were old-fashioned, but I guess I was wrong. What's that look for? You're the one with outdated thoughts, not me. We both laughed. In my past life, I had lived over 50 years. By that logic, in terms of mental age, we were probably equals. Yet, despite my experiences, the teacher remained wiser than I ever was. Life after my rebirth was fulfilling. I spent my days painting in the studio, attending events with the teacher, and enjoying my time with classmates. Surrounded by this peaceful and enriching atmosphere, my spirit felt lighter, as though the burdens of my previous life were slowly fading. But I never expected Lucas to seek me out. I'm with Evelyn now. His voice carried uncertainty. I smiled. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Our conversation was awkward. After all, we had once spent so many years together in my past life. Perhaps neither of us had fully adjusted to the shift in our relationship. After a long silence, irritation crept in, and I stood up to leave. Just as I turned, his voice stopped me. Mia, wait. I hesitated for a moment, then turned back reluctantly. About the Azure Art exhibition. I want to ask you for a favor. Please help Evelyn one more time. The word more struck a chord, instantly reminding me of the last time he had approached me in my previous life. Mia, Evelyn has immense talent, he continued. She just lacks the right opportunity. I crossed my arms, unimpressed. Oh. And whose fault is that? He sighed. She doesn't have a mentor as skilled as you. Memories of my past life flooded back. How naive I had been. Just a few persuasive words from him had made me throw away an opportunity my teacher had painstakingly secured for me. That reckless decision had cost me my future. And now, here he was again, asking me to make the same mistake. I narrowed my eyes. Lucas, where do you find the audacity to trouble me again? Without waiting for an answer, I threw the coffee in my hand at his face. The liquid had cooled, just like my feelings for him. He closed his eyes, standing still as it dripped down his face. Are you feeling better now, Mia? Better. I scoffed. You think this is about my mood? He wiped his face and spoke solemnly. I know it's unfair to you, but Evelyn really needs this chance. Teacher Amelia misunderstood her. I just hope. Before he could finish, I slapped him. The sound echoed in the cafe. I don't care about Evelyn's so-called talent, nor about whatever tangled mess exists between you two. But don't you dare come and disgust me again. I grabbed my bag, ready to walk away. But he caught my wrist. Mia, I know I failed you in the past. I made mistakes. But Evelyn. I yanked my hand free and slapped him again, harder this time. Lucas, the only one I ever hated was you. My voice trembled with anger. I hate that you never loved me, yet you wouldn't let me go. I resent that you wasted my entire life while being in love with someone else. His eyes widened, but I didn't give him a chance to respond. This time, I've learned my lesson. I won't be involved in your affairs, and you should stop coming back to torment me. His stunned silence was the last thing I saw before I turned and left, never looking back. Even after returning to my studio, my heart felt heavy. I cherished my new life, yet I couldn't help but mourn for my past self. Hours passed before I finally picked up my paintbrush. I worked through the night, pouring every emotion into the canvas under the moonlight. As dawn broke, I was still lost in my painting when a gentle hand rested on mine. My teacher examined my work in silence for a long time. Inside the frame of a young girl, she murmured, lies the soul of someone who has lived through too much. A lump formed in my throat. Teacher. She sighed. From a technical perspective, you've mastered the craft. But this is not the kind of painting you should be creating at this stage. I met her gaze, my eyes brimming with unshed tears. She studied me carefully, her own voice faltering. What happened to you, my Mia? I turned toward the window, watching the golden light spill over the spring landscape. My voice was barely a whisper. "Teacher, do you believe in past lives?" She frowned slightly but remained quiet. "What if I told you? I have already lived an entire life before this one? Would you believe me?" A deep, painful sorrow welled up in my chest as I buried my face in my hands. "In my past life, I ignored your advice and loved someone I never should have. I threw everything away. My passion, my art, even myself. I expected her to call me ridiculous. Instead, she crouched down and wrapped me in a warm embrace. "I don't understand these things," she said softly. "But you're here now, aren't you? And it's never too late." I looked at her, the kind, patient woman who had guided me in both lifetimes. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I had found the light at the end of the tunnel. With her encouragement, I regained my composure and turned back to my painting. It was a reflection of my past, my pain, and my rebirth. When the Azure Art exhibition arrived, I displayed my piece. I named it Dream Me. Many stopped to admire it. Some called it surreal, others an imaginative masterpiece. A few, however, understood its underlying sorrow. Art is subjective, and that's its true beauty. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw him. Lucas. He stood before my painting, silent, watching for far longer than anyone else. Nearby, my teacher introduced a group of art critics to my work. "Teacher Amelia, you've truly nurtured a remarkable student. To create such depth at such a young age. The new generation is truly extraordinary." I smiled and exchanged pleasantries, handling the attention with an ease I had never possessed in my past life. But even as I walked away with them, I could feel Lucas's gaze lingering on me. Perhaps he never imagined that the woman he had once dismissed would one day shine brighter than he could ever reach. Later, I learned that Evelyn had also participated in the exhibition. However, unlike in my previous life, she did not rise to fame overnight. Her work was overshadowed, left unnoticed as all eyes turned to mine. She despised me for this. She started flaunting her affection with Lucas at every opportunity, attempting to provoke me. I ignored her games, until she decided to confront me publicly. At a young painters' gathering, she clutched Lucas's hand dramatically and declared loud enough for all to hear, "Mia is young, I don't blame her for taking my teacher and my opportunities. But Lucas has always loved me. That's something she can never take away." The room fell silent. Every gaze turned toward us. I let out a soft chuckle. "Oh, Miss Evelyn, are you referring to Teacher Amelia? That's interesting. You studied at Wame 5 years ago, while I only became Teacher Amelia's disciple 2 years ago. And I don't recall any of her students ever being named Evelyn." I took a slow step closer, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Evelyn lifted her chin arrogantly. "Even if I wasn't officially her student, I still studied at Wame. That makes me your senior, doesn't it?" I scoffed. "Miss Evelyn, it seems you've been too influenced by Western education and forgotten some basic manners. Miss refers to a young, elegant, and well-mannered woman. I'm struggling to find the right way to address you." Her face twisted in fury, but I merely smiled, turning away, leaving her to fume in silence. "As for senior sister, Evelyn, you claim to be from Huami, but have you ever even attended a single class there? Moreover, when the teacher rejected you, you insulted her right to her face, tarnishing her reputation. How can someone who disrespects teachers, twists the truth, and neglects their studies?" I paused for a moment before continuing with a cold gaze. "Be worthy of being called senior sister by Huami students? You!" Evelyn's voice trembled with anger. Her hands clenched into fists before she suddenly raised one to slap me. But I was faster. I caught her wrist effortlessly. She gasped in pain, her body bending forward as she struggled. Let go," she cried, her voice losing its usual arrogance. I sighed, almost pitying her. "I once asked the teacher why she refused to accept you despite your talent for painting." Evelyn's eyes flickered with unease. "Her answer was simple," I continued. "She wouldn't take in someone with a corrupted mindset and unrealistic ambitions." Evelyn's body stiffened. She had no words to refute me. Compared to me, both in confidence and strength, she was utterly powerless. The room was silent. The spectators were too stunned to react. It took Lucas a long time to snap out of his daze before he finally rushed forward, reaching for Evelyn.
Mia, let's talk this out, he pleaded. Let go of Evelyn first.
Lucas tried to grasp my hand, attempting to pry me away from her, but I easily shook him off. With that motion, Evelyn collapsed onto the ground like discarded trash.
Ah,
she yelped, holding her wrist as tears welled up in her eyes. Lucas hurriedly helped her up, his expression torn between concern and hesitation. He looked at me with conflicted emotions. I only felt disgusted. My voice was devoid of warmth as I spoke. And Lucas, everyone at the class reunion knows I rejected you. The man you cherish so much is nothing more than the trash I threw away. Evelyn's face burned with humiliation. She wrenched herself free from Lucas's grasp and fled, tears streaming down her cheeks. I didn't waste another second there. Turning on my heel, I left that troublesome place with nothing but disdain. What I didn't expect was for Lucas to chase after me.
Mia,
wait for me, he called. I stopped, my patience wearing thin. What do you want? I asked, exasperated. Lucas hesitated.
Evelyn isn't a bad person.
I let out a bitter laugh. Fine, fine, fine. Lucas, your precious Evelyn is the best in the world. My sarcasm went right over his head. He still didn't understand. No matter which life we were in, he was always hopelessly devoted to Evelyn. Can you two just stay together and leave me alone? I snapped. Please, stop dragging me into your dramatic love story. The anger that had simmered in my heart for 2 lifetimes was finally unleashed.
What was my crime?
I demanded. In my previous life, I loved you, but I never forced you to love me back. Yet you took advantage of my feelings and ruined my life.
And now, you dare act as if I'm the one standing in your way.
Lucas's face paled.
Mia, that's not what
I raised a hand, cutting him off. Lucas, I'm tired. Tired of explaining. Tired of this endless entanglement. He opened his mouth to say something, but I turned away. We weren't happy in the previous life. Let's just go our separate ways in this one. I took a few steps before halting. A thought crossed my mind, and despite everything, I looked back at him. By the way, Lucas, if I remember correctly, the college students' entrepreneurship competition is starting soon. He blinked in surprise. You should focus on something meaningful for once, I advised. In our previous life, after Evelyn left, you entered the competition with my encouragement and won. That victory led you to meet a benefactor who believed in you, sponsored you, and helped you build your own company. You became an industry leader. Lucas stared at me, stunned. That benefactor once praised me, I continued.
He always said, "No wonder you succeeded. You have a virtuous wife by your side."
I scoffed at the irony. He and his wife were college sweethearts. They built their success together, side by side. That's why he admired us so much. But what he didn't know was that you and I were never like them. Lucas lowered his head, his expression unreadable. I let out a small sigh. In this life, you should find a good wife, Lucas. One truly meant for you. And with that, I walked away. Meanwhile, my painting, Dream Me, had been collected by an anonymous buyer and auctioned off for 50 million yuan. Though it was a charity event and I didn't earn a single cent, the fact that my debut work sold at such a high price significantly boosted my reputation. At last I was free.
Many people came to me, offering huge sums of money to buy one of my paintings, but I refused them all. The teacher once said that in this line of work, countless treasures will come your way. Only by keeping your eyes open can you have a long-term career. But a mysterious phone call shattered my perception. Hello, is this Miss Mia, the author of Dream Me? Hello, this is me. May I ask what this is about? Hello, our boss is from the Luna family, the collector who bought Dream Me. Now she would like to meet you. Are you available? The person who bought Dream Me, that unknown collector? I had once asked the teacher who the person was that spent so much money on the work of an unknown young painter like me. Even the teacher shook her head in confusion. I asked a lot of people and even approached the organizer. The result was that it was not convenient to disclose. Now that person had taken the initiative to contact me? But for safety reasons, I still refused. Sorry, I'm not very convenient, and 10 million yuan, as long as you come. 10 million yuan? Just to meet me? Are they crazy? Although the temptation of money was great, after all, I had lived 2 lifetimes. Out of caution, I still, well, I'm sorry. 30 million yuan. Don't worry. It's just to meet our old lady. She really wants to see you. It was an old lady? Why did she want to see me? Whether it was the great temptation of money or a bit of curiosity, I finally agreed. As soon as I put down the phone, a stretched Lincoln stopped in front of me. I got in, stunned, and was still in a daze even after arriving at the destination. In front of me was a huge manor, grander than anything I could have dreamed of. It was hard to believe that such a place still existed in the City A, where land was extremely precious. I walked through a long corridor and was led to a room by the attendants. The room was decorated in a classical style. It was obvious that the owner of this house was a person of great taste. Even the paintings hanging in the corridor were valuable masterpieces. With such wealth, they could buy any painting they wanted. Why would they spend a large amount of money on my painting? As soon as I entered the room, I saw Dream Me hanging in the center, and an old woman on the verge of withering. Her eyes were fixed on Dream Me until she saw me approaching step by step. Hello, Reborn One. What? How did she know? I stood there, stunned, my mouth slightly open, looking at her in surprise. Surprised? Others may not understand this painting and think it's absurd and strange, but I'm different. I'm also a reborn person. When I saw this painting, I felt like I was seeing my whole life. So there were other reborn people besides Lucas and me? She didn't look at me anymore and continued to stare blankly at Dream Me. Dream Me. This name is very good. Life is like a big dream. Moving forward brings regret, and moving backward also brings regret. Young person, do you want to hear my story? I finally chose to sit down and, as a silent listener, quietly listen to her 2 life story. In my first life, I went against my father and chose to elope with him. But perhaps because of the long-distance marriage, or maybe because there was no matchmaker and no betrothal gifts, or without the support of my natal family, he soon got tired of me. I was worn down by life and cried every day. I regretted and hated. I regretted every moment. After I closed my eyes, a life restart system suddenly appeared. It said that if I regretted, I could choose to restart my life. I agreed without hesitation. This time, I didn't choose him and stayed at home forever. But because of my resistance to love, I casually chose an honest and decent man. I thought this time I could have a perfect family, but he still abandoned me. For that woman, he was even willing to leave the house with nothing and abandon me and our children. My 2 lives have not been happy. After hearing her story, I didn't get caught up in her painful emotions. Instead, I stood up briskly, took down the painting, and threw it on the ground hard. The frame was broken, revealing the drawing paper inside. I tore the paper to reveal the other side. A woman with a straight posture, standing against the wind, was alone in the light. Luna, dream me, dream me. The first layer is a dream, and the second layer is me. Only those who can break out of the nightmare can see their truly brilliant selves. Otherwise, they can only be trapped to death by the dream. The old granny's fingers trembled as she touched the light, and tears streamed down from the corners of her eyes. So that's how it is. So that's it. There are many choices in life. Even if you make the wrong choice, there are still many opportunities to make up for it. She clearly had a fortune, but in 2 lifetimes, she was trapped by love and family, wasting her otherwise brilliant life. The same goes for me. Even though I was exploited by Lucas in my previous life, giving up painting and burying myself were my own choices. Only when people learn to love themselves can they avoid regrets. The closed door reopened, and I wheeled Luna out. The servants in the manor were stunned, as if they had seen a ghost. I couldn't help but feel a bit puzzled. Don't think too much. I haven't left this room for over 10 years. I owe it to you for helping me untie my knots. Now this old woman can finally come out and see the light, Luna said. I wheeled Luna to the courtyard to soak up the sun, have some tea, and chat. She also asked me about the reason for my rebirth. Me. Now I'm quite calm about that relationship. I told the story with a plain expression, without pain or sadness, only a faint sigh. What? Even in a new life, he still asked you to give the opportunity to her. Luna slapped the table in anger, looking exactly like a gossip, loving onlooker. Just as I was about to continue, I saw a figure rushing over. Grandma. Then a red-haired guy slid on his knees and rushed into Luna's arms. Ouch, you're going to break these old bones of mine. Luna pretended to be angry and twisted the red-haired guy's ear, but there was a smile on her face. The red-haired guy shouted for help, actually just acting coquettishly. After Luna finally let him go, he rubbed his red and swollen ear and looked at me. Is this the painter of that lousy painting? What nonsense. Have some manners. Luna slapped the red-haired guy on the head. Sorry for his rudeness. This is my little grandson, Edward. Her name is Mia. She's a few years younger than you, but she's already a great artist. Look at you, doing nothing all day long. What? It's just a lousy painting. Edward muttered discontentedly, but scratched his head under Luna's unfriendly gaze and reached out his hand to greet me. Hi, Mia. I'm Edward. Although I don't understand your art, since you helped my grandma come out of the room again, you're my benefactor. If you need anything, just say the word, and I'll definitely help. Yeah, Mia. This kid has nothing to do. Just order him around if you need anything. I reached out and shook his hand. His eyes were bright, and this kind of vitality was something I hadn't seen for a long time. He was also much thicker skinned than I expected. Luna wanted to send him away so that we could continue our previous conversation, but he was so thick-skinned that he insisted on staying to listen. Helplessly, there was one more listener to my story. What? What a scumbag this Lucas is, being so greedy. His skin is really thick. Edward somehow took out a pack of melon seeds and was listening with great enthusiasm. Luna shook her head in dismay, as if wondering where something had gone wrong with the family genes to raise such a rascal. I stayed in the manor for a long time and had dinner there at Luna's warm invitation. After dinner, Edward volunteered to drive me back to school. On the way, Edward kept looking at me, either intentionally or unintentionally, but didn't say anything. I pretended not to notice, but my heart felt itchy like being scratched by a kitten. Damn it, Mia. You've lived 2 lifetimes. The sum of your ages in 2 lifetimes is enough to be his grandma. What are you thinking? Are you hot? Your face looks a bit red. Do you want me to turn on the air conditioner? No need. I quickly turned my head and covered my face with my hand, hoping it would cool down quickly. It's really inappropriate to lose face in front of a younger generation. And he chuckled. What? You're so cute. What did you say? You're cute. Don't you know that? Do you know who I am? You're flirting with me like this? Kid, I'm old enough to be your grandma in terms of actual age. Is this flirting? I'm just telling the truth. I ignored him. Admitting that I was flirted with by a guy in his early 20s was really embarrassing. Thinking about it, I couldn't help but feel a bit regretful. Having lived 2 lifetimes, I've only revolved around one man, Lucas. It really feels like a waste. Actually. Oh, no, no. What are you thinking, Mia? Edward is Luna's grandson. She's been so nice to you, not only buying your painting but also offering 30 million yuan at once. How could I have thoughts about her grandson? It's really inappropriate. This kind of thought must be nipped in the bud. Even if I want to have such thoughts, I should choose someone else. Pop. Edward snapped his fingers in front of my eyes, bringing back my wandering thoughts. What were you thinking, Mia? We've arrived, and you still don't want to leave. Are you reluctant to part with me? Don't call me Mia. I'm Mia, but I don't think we're that familiar yet. I picked up my bag and got out of the car. Unexpectedly, he also got out. I will call you. Mia, Mia. I was so annoyed by him that I couldn't help hitting him with my bag, but was stopped by another voice. Mia, it really is you. Lucas appeared out of nowhere, grabbed my wrist, and forcefully pulled me behind him. I was so angry that I kept struggling. Lucas, let me go. What are you going crazy for? She said, let go. Can't you understand? Edward pushed Lucas away and protected me behind him. He also carefully checked my red and swollen wrist. Lucas was furious when he saw Edward protecting me. Evelyn showed me the video of you getting into a luxury car during the day, and I didn't believe it. So you're really up to this kind of thing. What thing? What did I do? What you did, don't you know? Mia, you said you were going to love yourself. Is this how you love yourself after leaving me? You've even slept with someone else. Slap. I slapped Lucas in the face, trembling with anger. I couldn't help throwing my bag at him. Finally, still not satisfied, I kicked him in the groin. He rolled on the ground in pain, and I let out a long sigh. Edward, who was beside us, looked at Lucas rolling on the ground, swallowed silently, and gave me a thumbs up. My Mia is awesome. I ignored Lucas, slung my bag over my shoulder, and walked back to the dormitory with my head held high. It was not until the next day, when I saw the popular post on the confession wall, that I understood what Lucas meant. The disciple of a well-known master is actually doing this kind of thing in private. There were several photos of me getting into a luxury car on the post. The poster, The Ferret in the Melon Field, used a long paragraph to vividly describe what he saw. But many of the contents were fabricated, and there was a lot of deliberate misdirection. The comments below were even more unsightly. I saw that guy touch her butt. The two of them were acting intimately. Learning art is expensive. You know what I mean. I heard her painting sold for 50 million yuan. Wonder which sugar daddy spent money to build her up. Being young and beautiful is great. Just take off your clothes, and tens of millions will roll in. I heard those sugar daddies are all old men with big bellies and bad breath. I don't know how she can stand being with them. That's why she's successful and you're not. She's willing to do whatever it takes and is unrestrained. This was clearly a deliberate attempt to frame me. But thinking they could bring me down with such means was nothing short of a pipe dream. I didn't make a fuss or foolishly try to prove my innocence. Instead, I saved all the evidence. I didn't let go of not only the poster but also those who left malicious comments and deliberately guessed and guided public opinion. At this moment, a friend request suddenly popped up on my phone. The avatar was a red-haired lion, and the ID was Edward is your father. Well, it's quite distinctive. After adding him, he sent me a series of emoticons. Baby, do you miss me? Let me dote on you. Don't be infatuated with brother. Brother is just a legend. I rolled my eyes and sent him an embarrassed emoticon. He replied instantly, how's the matter going? Not well. I sent him a link to the confession wall. After reading it, he was very angry. Damn it. I'm young and handsome. I'm not an old man with a big belly and bad breath. Mia, believe me. I'm very clean. My mouth only has a fresh mint smell. If you don't believe me, you can give it a try. After a series of flirtatious words, he sent me a moi emoticon. This time, I not only rolled my eyes but also sent him a big-eyed emoticon showing extreme disdain. But he didn't care. Don't worry about this. Brother will solve it for you. I didn't take it seriously and continued to collect evidence. Before long, I heard a silly voice loudly calling my name, Mia. I leaned over to the window and saw that idiot Edward holding a large bouquet of flowers, leaning against a flamboyant red Ferrari just like him, waving at me. I really wanted to pretend I didn't know him and shrink back, but it was too late. Mia, come down quickly. A bunch of onlookers had already gathered around Edward. I could only pick up my coat as if going to my doom, rush downstairs, shove him into the car, and urge him to drive quickly. Is this the solution you came up with? I asked him speechlessly. Yeah, isn't it awesome? This way, no one will think you're being kept by an old man. I'm so young and handsome, they'll be jealous of you. Edward was like a husky, excitedly claiming credit to me. I could only helplessly hold my head. I opened my phone, and as expected, I was on the top of the trending list again. The female college student being kept by a sugar daddy is actually too timing. The post not only had photos of Edward holding flowers and calling me, but also pictures of me getting out of his car at night and even the scene of my confrontation with Lucas. 666. This woman has some tricks. She's hooking up with a sugar daddy, flirting with a rich second generation, and getting entangled with the campus heartthrob at the same time. She's something. I'm convinced. How could there be such a person in Huame? It's simply immoral. She's also the last disciple of Teacher Amelia. Teacher Amelia rejected Evelyn back then and accepted her as the last student. She really misjudged. What kind of good person is Teacher Amelia? She was quite promiscuous when she was young, too. Seeing that the fire was spreading from me to my teacher, I couldn't hold back anymore. Now, what are you going to do? Edward wilted when he saw me angry. But I still remained calm and continued to collect evidence. I also contacted the confession wall, asking them to take down the post and provide me with evidence. Go to the police station. I didn't choose to swallow my anger, but rationally chose the most effective solution, calling the police. The cost of spreading rumors is very low. Just a few photos and a few words can arouse netizen speculation and imagination. But it's very difficult to prove one's innocence. The road to self-vindication is extremely tough. It's better to call the police directly and let the rumor mongers pay the price. This is the simplest and most convenient and effective way. The police quickly found the poster and several people who deliberately led the rhythm in the comment section. I was unfamiliar with every one of them. I had never seen them before. Their counselors also came to the police station. But their attitude didn't satisfy me. Student, there's no need to bring school matters to the police station. Just ask them to delete the post and apologize. Making a big deal out of it won't get you any compensation. I don't need compensation. I just want the rumor mongers to be punished as they deserve. You're a teacher. Is it the knowledge you teach them to slander someone at will? What you said is really harsh. After all, it's just a minor matter. Why waste the police's time? Isn't this a waste of public resources? The police also said that this case was difficult to convict. Even if I didn't accept mediation, they would be detained for at most a day or two. At this time, Edward stepped forward. I'm from the Luna family. My name is Edward. The cars that picked up and dropped off Miss Mia are all from the Luna family. The reason we invited Miss Mia is that my grandmother highly appreciates Miss Mia's paintings. I read the post, and it's completely nonsense, deliberately guiding and smearing. This matter has not only affected Miss Mia, but I, Edward, and the entire Luna family have also been extremely negatively affected. When Edward was serious, he had a strong sense of oppression, completely different from his hooligan-like appearance in front of me at first. The Luna family is the Luna family, the richest in the capital. As soon as they heard that the Luna family was involved, they immediately lost their arrogance and stammered. We were instigated by Evelyn. We really didn't mean it. Believe me, I have the chat records. Sure enough, Evelyn was the mastermind behind this. With new evidence, the police immediately summoned Evelyn, and Lucas came along. What evidence do you have to arrest me? What did I do? Miss, we have conclusive evidence to prove that you bribed others to deliberately smear, spread rumors, and damage someone else's reputation. Even when she saw me, Evelyn still didn't yield. So what if it was me? Mia, I just hate you. I hate that you got what I couldn't get so easily. But so what? The person you love doesn't love you. I walked up to her, grabbed Evelyn's chin. Evelyn, I know why you're jealous of me. But is a Lucas really worth showing off in front of me? Even if I loved him once, he's like spilled water to me now. I've even thrown away the cup. Why would I care about this spilled water? Lucas was stunned when he heard my words. I then threw away Evelyn's chin, took the wet wipe Edward handed me to wipe my hands, and left gracefully. I refused to reconcile. The lawyers of the Luna family were very capable. Each of them will face imprisonment, and the prime culprit, Evelyn, will even be imprisoned for 5 years. Knowing that she was going to jail, Evelyn panicked completely. She not only pleaded with the police, but also apologized to me, saying that she couldn't go to jail, but I refused both. Until Lucas shamelessly came to me again. Mia, I'm begging you. Let Evelyn go. She was just temporarily confused. If she goes to jail, her whole life will be ruined. Lucas, what about my life? Who ruined my life then? Sorry. I'm sorry, Mia. It's all my fault. Please let her go. Lucas actually knelt down on the ground for Evelyn. Looking at Lucas, who was so humble for Evelyn, I couldn't help but think of the last moment of my previous life. Get up, Lucas. This is the last time. She won't be in jail for 5 years, but she will still get the punishment she deserves. Lucas got up gratefully and left quickly, while I stood alone in the cold wind, feeling sad. The little figure beside me teased, "You still feel soft-hearted towards him. You don't understand. At the last moment of my previous life, he chose to turn the car around and gave me the only possible chance of survival. Previous life, huh? Only then did I realize that I had let it slip, and I felt a bit flustered. What are you panicking about? I already knew. My grandma was reborn. The first time I saw you, I knew you were different. Then why did you still? Knowing that I was an old woman who had lived 2 lifetimes, he still flirted with me. So what? Love is love. After all, I met you after you were reborn, right? Fate is wonderful. This time, my heart was pounding violently, as if there was a little rabbit inside. I couldn't help but want to escape, while Edward was laughing at my timidity behind me. Lucas missed the college students' entrepreneurship competition because of Evelyn's matter. In this life, he missed his noble person and was just an ordinary college student. 5 months later, Evelyn was released from prison, but she soon left Lucas because he was good for nothing. Just as the teacher said, Evelyn was a vain and ambitious person. She hooked up with a wealthy businessman and became a mistress, just like she had slandered me back then. In the end, she was scratched on the face by the wife and driven out of the country, with no one knowing where she went. As for Lucas, he lost the love that he had obtained with great difficulty. He was depressed all day long and lingered in bars. He not only missed the opportunity to start a business, but also missed the job fair and achieved nothing. As for me, with the 30 million yuan Luna gave me, the resources from the teacher, and the reputation I had accumulated before, I was going to open a personal studio. The teacher also fully supported my decision and said that he would introduce me to good connections and business. My studio thus started bit by bit. The only trouble was, I don't care. I want to work with you. I have money. I can invest in you. I looked at Edward, who was squatting on the ground, holding my leg tightly and not letting go, and rubbed my temples wearily. I have money. Luna gave me 30 million yuan. Then I'll work for you. You're in charge of art, and I'll manage the company for you. In the end, because of Edward's persistent pursuit and the fact that I really didn't know how to manage a company, I finally agreed to start a company with him. Luna was very happy when she found out. Great, Mia. You've finally found a proper thing for that silly boy to do. If only you two could live together. That would be even better. Grandma. Mia, don't punish yourself in this life because of what happened in the previous life. Don't follow in my footsteps. If you don't like this boy, I still have. Grandma, am I your real grandson? Why are you trying to steal my love interest? My career was getting more and more prosperous, and my life was getting better and better. One night, I heard that voice again. Reboot life system feedback. Do you regret it after rebooting your life? No, I don't regret it. I regret it. In my previous life, I married Mia out of spite. After marriage, I always regretted it. Why did I miss Evelyn back then because of spite? This kind of regret made my life with Mia a mess. We spent every day in arguments and suspicion. How many times do I have to tell you? I didn't go to see Evelyn. Lucas, how can you make me believe you? When Evelyn went to France, you went on a business trip to France. When Evelyn flew to the United States, you went there immediately. Tell me, how can there be such a coincidence in the world? We didn't meet. Yes, even if you can't meet, you have to be under the same sky as her, right? She grabbed me desperately, and I just felt annoyed. I thought she was meddling too much. I didn't cheat. Was it not okay for me to just go to her city? I looked at the glamorous Evelyn, who had become a famous painter, and then at Mia, who was good for nothing staying at home every day. The balance in my heart tilted more and more. If only I had married Evelyn back then. I thought I would never have this chance again, but an accident gave us a chance to start over. At the moment when the car crashed into us, my first reaction was to make sure she survived. Unexpectedly, we both still died. If you could do it all over again, would you still choose her? I thought I would choose no without hesitation. But I hesitated, while she didn't. She chose no without hesitation. Then I also chose no without hesitation. After being reborn, I returned to the day I confessed to her. She refused me one step ahead of me. And I threw away the flowers and went to find Evelyn as soon as possible. I thought I would be very happy this time. But it wasn't. She was shining in the life without me, while I loved the wrong person and had nothing. During those days, I drank like there was no tomorrow. I hurt my stomach, but the pain in my heart was far worse. I kept recalling the days of my previous life, the days when she belonged to me. Don't let Lucas drink so much. His stomach is not good. I'll drink to you instead. Lucas, you've really married a good wife. You're so lucky, kid. Sorry, Mia. I'm really sorry. I loved the wrong person. I didn't cherish you. I sent messages to Mia over and over again without getting tired, but all I got were exclamation marks. She had already blocked me. Mia, I regret it. I really regret it. After I drank until I lost consciousness, I heard that voice again. Reboot life system feedback. Do you regret it after rebooting your life? I regret it. No, I don't regret it.